This is a naval ship, and we forgot that the doors are rather narrow and watertight, and we couldn't get the grill through the door.
Welcome back to Scuttlebutt, the official podcast of the National Museum of the Surface Navy in affiliation with the Surface Navy Association's Battleship Iowa chapter. We are back with the second half of our conversation with Jeff Lamberti, Iowa's first board chairman and former Iowa State Senator. We have been talking about the adventurous early days of getting the ship out of Suisun Bay and starting operations. In the room, we've got CIO David Canfield, COO Mike Getcher, CEO Jonathan Williams, Director of Development Kyle Aubie, and Communications Lead me, Marianne Fengler. Let's get back into it.
Yeah, that's I think the hardest thing. We're only 12 years old, and I think we're 12 since opening. We're coming up on 12 years since we opened. And I remember, gosh. January, I'll throw another story out there. January 2013, when I got several calls from some folks on everything from our generators to some of the equipment that we were unable to afford to pay, and the repo man was bearing down our throats at that point, and we're able to freeze all that debt for a short period of time and do a Groupon and raise a bunch of money on Groupon, which allowed us to settle some debt, and people donated some of that debt back. And I like to say, when, looking back at that time, there's instances like that really kind of built the fortitude in who we are and laid the groundwork for where we're going. And even though we're 12 years old, we're still fighting some of, not at that scale, smaller scale. When I get asked to, even on the National Museum and building this park and this building, and back in Iowa, talking about the decks and the preservation of the ship, asking, what kind of money or what kind of budget we have. Well, 12 years ago, we had nothing, literally nothing. Today, we have pennies, and hopefully in 12 years from now, we have dollars. So having pennies is a much better place than having nothing. But I think it's important, as we look at the next 12 to 15 years, to continue to do everything we can to preserve the ship, to get to a point where we build an endowment, legacy endowment, that helps make sure the ship needs to be preserved for a lifetime. So
yeah, I agree with that. And it's interesting, when you've been through the hard battles that we've been through, and this is just scratching the surface of those battles and challenges, things don't look so hard going forward, because routine challenges that come up on the operation of any business look pretty small compared to where we've been. And it helps us all take it kind of in stride, and that tomorrow's going to be okay. We're going to get through it. And the other thing that just I always remember about this journey is the number of volunteers and the number of volunteer hours that went into preserving this ship. I would be shocked if any other museum ship comes anywhere close to the number of hours of volunteer time that we've had, not just at the beginning when we were trying to do the work, but throughout our entire history. And, that's when we were saving the ship, that was something we could fall back on that was invaluable at different times, where we would just do things purely on volunteer time and sweat equity, because we didn't have the money to do what we needed to do. And somehow we just got through. And so I've always just got a real soft spot in my heart for all those volunteers. I saw the dedication and the number of hours some of them put in, and we wouldn't be here today without them. I mean, we just wouldn't.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot. I mean, I just did a quick thumbnail calculation, more than 600,000 hours since we opened. And if you figure 2080 hours per year per person, that's 288 people, full-time hours, basically. I mean, it's just an amazing number. We do 54,000, I think, David, last year. And we've been between 50 and 60 other than COVID years.
And what I like to say is, that number is not even fully true because
Yeah,
there's
no,
about
I know.
30% of people that don't even
They
calculate.
don't calculate their
tracks.
time.
We're probably
That-
70 or 80,000 hours in reality.
Yeah.
We have a whole group of people that work remotely that are not that don't show up in
Yeah.
those numbers. We have people that that put in countless hours doing administrative support or some of the technical work or things that don't require you to be on site. That I think probably another 1/3. That's probably
Yeah.
a good number.
Sue chases down people like John Goodson all the time for not logging any hours. And,
Right.
you know,
But
it's
there's
amazing.
people she doesn't even know about. I mean,
Oh,
that's
absolutely.
There's entire teams
Yeah.
that are just never hit her desk. I mean, it's
Yeah.
And I think you're right, Jeff. Although there are a handful of ships out there that do pretty well on the volunteer side, it's just so core to who we are. I mean,
You
it's
know,
culture.
it is cultural for us, and it's one of the things that we're really passionate about here. Is we have volunteers in every single area of the ship. We have volunteers on the management team. We have volunteers that do fabrication. I have volunteers writing software. A lot of these ships, the volunteer crew, you know, is allowed to like
Polish.
drive the golf cart or polish and sweep. But
here you can't drive the golf cart.
here you
can
can't drive the
everything
golf cart.
else.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. It's a
No
lot of
golf cart.
reliability issues. But no, but seriously, it's you know, it's pretty fantastic that we have crew members who don't know whether their peers are paid or volunteers.
Yeah.
And then that's something that we really pride ourselves on.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just don't see that in any organization. You really don't. And that's our strength, right? I mean, we have people that feel that they're important, that they're being treated like they're important. Well, heck, we didn't have a choice, right? We needed them.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I mean, we were all volunteer. Well, I mean, not all of us, but some of us. Were you a volunteer to start?
No.
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 Okay, so Moran and Kyle are the only ones that
Yeah.
were not volunteers to start in this room.
Yep.
You're part of the new breed of people.
Oh.
You
Yeah.
got pennies. You still haven't got dollars.
I walked in
You got the pennies category. We were in the nothing category. So
But
you're
you and I
part of
had
pennies.
pizza dates all. Remember that
Oh yeah, we had the straw hat pizza dates.
when we were
Oh,
up there on our own money. Remember 6 weeks there, and everybody else did the same thing.
Yeah,
it was-
Jeff, when you were not around, thank God when Jeff would show up, we'd finally eat normally. Because when you were not around, Mike and I up in Suisun Bay were going to Straw Hat Pizza for the couples deal, which was a medium pizza, 2 salads, and 2 drinks for $20.
Yeah.
It was all we could afford because we were volunteers living on our own, basically. You know, that was
Very
Junky little hotel.
You were in the hotel up there. Yeah, I was still working in Silicon Valley, and I was only spending weekends. Right,
You were there Fridays.
Starts with
Suisun
Friday,
Bay.
and then it was Friday, Saturday, and then it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And hey, can I work from the ship? I swear I have an internet connection. Such
Yeah.
as it is.
I remember you and I getting back from the ship at the end of the day and literally just laying down on the hotel beds, obviously separate rooms, and just exhausted. And then finally texting and go, "You ready to eat?" I don't know.
Couple
maybe.
special.
I don't know. You can walk over. Let's go.
Yep. Couple
It
special.
was pretty exhausting.
Anyways,
well, Jonathan, do you remember the feeling of being on the ship the first time it moved?
oh my gosh, I think I cried.
I
You know-
I cried.
I didn't think it was supposed to happen. Like I didn't believe it was actually happening.
It was stunning.
That's one of the ones I tell people that we were so fortunate to be on board because, you know, it's not a small operation to move a battleship for the first time in how many years. And of course, they had the 4 big tugs. They had the guy running the tugs. They had the pilot. And they let a few of us yahoos on board. I'm not sure why, but they did. And it was a pretty remarkable couple days. I can remember being up on the 011 deck and we were passing underneath a bridge. People were just spontaneously stopping their cars in California. You believe this? Stopping their cars and getting out. And we were so close to them, we could just talk in regular voice like this. Hey, how you doing? And look up at them. And of course, then we had all the private boat entourage following us and the Coast Guard escort. And if you didn't know before that time that what we were doing was important, you do it then. And it's just one of those memories that, you know, I'll never forget. And very few people got to that opportunity.
That week was the worst anxiety for me because I mean it was like we don't have the money. Maybe we have the money. No, we don't have the money. We have the money. Oh, we're going. We're really going. Okay, we're going. We're breaking the lines, and it's like,
It's really
oh God,
happening.
no, it was like I remember this. I remember going, we're moving. I hope to God we don't ground on the sandbar in the
Yep.
middle of Suisun Bay.
Yep.
Like this is, oh my God.
Yeah.
And my anxiety was boosted all the way until we got to the other side of the channel.
other
And
side,
then it was
yeah.
like joy. It was like, we made it.
What I remember though,
Goosebumps.
if you remember that weekend, everybody met us at the dock there, in Richmond, and you had a day and a half of some celebration and, a handful of drinks and
And
a
everybody just
barbecue. And then literally you and I woke up on it the next morning because everybody else went home,
Oh, yeah.
and we're just kind of staring at each other going, holy cow, they gave us a battleship.
Yeah.
Literally, it was just like, huh?
It was before I knew I was going to be involved. He calls me like the next week. He's like, "Where are you?" I'm like, I'm at work." "Well, why?" "Because I have a mortgage, And he's like, "Well, you need to be at the ship." I'm like, "I have a mortgage."
But you need to be at the ship.
That was it.
Yeah, we were the dog that caught the car at that
Absolutely.
point.
100%.
That's exactly
We were
it.
like, oh
Holy
boy,
cow.
what do we do now?
Yeah.
But-
That is a
so
perfect
do you
timing.
remember the one little failure that turned out to be nothing? But so after we got to Richmond, we wanted to cook hot dogs and hamburgers on the deck of the Iowa because it was ours now and we could. So we put together the grill
Barbecue.
in the wardroom. This is a naval ship, and we forgot that the doors are rather narrow and watertight, and we couldn't get the grill through the door. But we solved the problem. We just had to disassemble partially so we could get it out, and we did.
That was the
Yeah.
infamous BBQ 61.
Yeah, that was
right?
that was
That's right.
BB1 that got a lot of exercise over the years.
Where'd
I
it
just-
go?
I don't know where BBQ 61. It's got to be in the trash by now.
Yeah, that's
I mean, I just remember the weekdays getting to Richmond, and the weekdays were just. You see, I think you woke up earlier than I did
No.
mentally, because the first thing I remember waking up to mentally in Richmond was like 2 days later, looking at you, going, "One of us needs to unload the porta potties."
and it was always a negotiation. Well, I did it yesterday. No,
Yeah. That was the first memory I have. Like after the tow, was the porta potties needed to be moved off the ship.
And then we got the generator so we could lower the gangway and raise it without having to do the
chain fall.
The chain fall. Oh my God.
The generator wasn't quite big enough, so you had to
So you had to
bump,
kinda
you had to bump the button or you'd kill the generator.
I remember,
gosh.
Kyle, this is actually pretty profound too. We literally had no accounts with any vendors anywhere in the entire harbor. I mean, nothing. We were literally begging. Remember the fuel guy
Yeah.
came out and we would take them on tours and just sell them on our dream. This is what we want to do. Will you give us credit, please? Because I'm tired
The
of buying.
Great All Guy, the
Yeah, I
Great All-
know.
everybody.
The United
Can you
Rentals, they
imagine
show
it?
up. Hey, it was just an amazing time. And, if you look back on it, that's the crazy part. We had nothing.
We begged everybody.
Yeah,
we
literally begged.
And
everybody.
every one of those transactions is one of those failure points we were talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Like any one of those dominoes could have
You coulda
knocked
ran.
over, right? You couldn't live
Yeah.
without the great all. You couldn't live without the generator. You couldn't live without the fuel. Every one of those, and everybody took a little risk. And I think that's part of the magic here. Is like the fuel guy took a little risk, not a huge risk, but a little risk,
Yeah.
right? Everybody had a little bit of skin in the game.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing.
So-
Yeah, you knew it was an issue and we didn't have much money when one of the first topics at our board meetings would be how long we could run the generator per day. What could we afford?
Wow.
Yep. That's
Yeah.
not a common problem.
Whether or not we bought pickles for the
Oh yeah, the
for the
pickles.
pickle
the jar of
incident.
pickles.
The pickle incident.
We were in a pickle, that was for
Yeah.
sure. But
So do you have any regrets? Any regrets? Would you do it again? And do you have any regrets, Jeff?
No, I don't. I mean, like I said, it's one of probably the most rewarding thing I've ever got the opportunity to do. And I do see it as the opportunity. Now, sometimes you just have to seize opportunities when they're out there. And, we're programmed really well to forget the details of the difficult times, the hard times. We remember them. But I always say it's kind of like it's a good thing we don't have great memories of pain. We know it hurt, right? When I had my back surgery, I know it hurt, but we don't have great memories of the specific feeling. And it's kind of like that sometimes when you go through something. I just don't dwell. Now they're funny stories, right?
Yeah.
And would I have signed up in 08 if I knew how long and how hard? I don't know. I'd like to think I would, but that's kind of in my nature, and that's what gets me in trouble because when I have these challenges, I like to do them and I like to get them accomplished. And so nothing really gets you off track until you get it done and you're successful. So I have no regrets. I mean, I'm the exact opposite. This is one of the funnest things, despite all the challenges and everything. You know, if it wasn't fun as well and rewarding, I wouldn't have done it. But, you know, at least for me, it's part of my legacy, whatever that is, that somebody might remember someday. But I can say I was one of the people that got to do this. And I see, like I said, it's more of an opportunity than anything else.
Well, you have the USS Iowa Service Award with your name on it, so that legacy will stick for a while.
Absolutely.
At least you know that legacy will stick as long as, well, I'm around, and Kyle and Moran better be around. I think I'm the youngest guy. No, Kyle's the youngest. Moran, you're the youngest.
I think Kyle has that title.
Kyle. So I'll keep
Anyway.
the legacy going as long as I can.
Well, it feels, I mean, from the young guy's perspective, I guess joining the crew about 2.5 years ago, it feels like I joined in the middle of an ongoing, engaging docu-series. It's full of cliffhangers. But it's not wrong. In my perspective, it's kind of like when you find something on TV and you're like, wow, this is really good. And you start to kind of work your way backwards and go, wow, last season's really good. And oh, the season before that was really good. It's kind of crazy.
Really great way to
but it's kind of crazy to see how this all has been playing out.
We
And
have no idea how it will end.
no,
We have no idea how it will end
So-
at this point.
So from, I guess, people in LA, it's been here for 12 years, but it was in Iowa and connected to the state long before that, because people here are starting to realize and uncover some of those other seasons, if you will.
Yeah.
But when we went out, Jeff, and did your service award ceremony, we had people from Iowa driving in from hours away because they've been following since day one of that season,
Yeah.
season 1, episode 1.
Yeah.
And they feel so connected. And it's because of the hard work people like you put in, and they recognize that, and they pulls in the personal side of why this is so important. So now moving forward, Marianne and I, the future generations of this organization, it's sort of like, okay, how do we want the future seasons to go? How do we want to keep people in this area and across the nation engaged? And so we have that opportunity to grow that and shape that story and keep people as a part of this. And this docuseries can keep on going and keep having these kind of monumental moments that we don't script, but they happen and we get over them.
Hey,
And we
Kyle,
did-
that may be one of the most prolific things I've ever heard come out of your mouth.
I think it was
That was
beautiful.
awesome.
I thought it was
It
beautiful.
was beautiful.
That's what prolific means, right?
Yeah,
That means a lot.
it means a lot, but that's
Oh, no.
it's
Okay.
kind
One of the
same.
most beautiful things.
Profound.
Profound. I meant profound.
Well,
One of those pro words.
I'm checking this off as job security.
No, that was not a contract.
It
It
was-
was state. Let's make
was
sure we
all-
go through the HR.
It was also prolific.
We-
I mean, he doesn't
yeah.
speak much, you know. so.
That was good.
Well, you know,
I-
you guys have some great opportunities in front of you. I mean, you really do. So yeah, the story isn't done, and
No.
that makes it
No.
exciting
No.
to keep working on something new. And we'll be watching as well. And you know, you talk about, so we throughout the years we tried to engage Iowans. I mean, I can't tell you how many speeches to VFWs and Rotary clubs and different things that I did while we were trying to save the ship and raise the money. And we would get, you know, $25, $50, $100 donations from Iowans all over the state. And just as you said, they've stayed engaged. They're really proud of the ship and the fact that it's there and that they were a piece of it. And so that's pretty rewarding. And I still get asked every once in a while. I haven't done one for maybe a year and a half, but every once in a while, some group will say, "Hey, weren't you involved with the Iowa? Would you come speak to our group?" Of course, you know, 10 years ago, I knew every useless fact, although none of them are useless there, but I knew every fact about the battleship that there was. And now I find maybe some of its age, I have to pull out my notes to prepare a little bit for a speech. But back then I didn't have to even carry a note with me because I had it all jammed in my head. But, you know, even now, I mean, literally this just happened earlier today. I was having a client come in just to sign a couple documents. It was going to be a 2-minute deal possibly. And while I'm there up front at the counter doing it, I see a gentleman walk in. Obviously, he's doing something with one of the other attorneys, but he's talking to my receptionist. And I notice he's got a Vietnam veteran hat on. So, you know, and he's looking at the at the model ship that you all gave me. And he says to the receptionist, "Oh, he just got that here not too long ago." And she said, "Yeah, because it has the date on it." And then she kind of motioned, "That's him," to me. And he thanked me for helping save the ship. So after all these years, it still happens. And how can that not be a rewarding experience when you get stuff like that still going on?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to wrap up here. We got what? A good 35 minutes under the belt here, probably.
There you
So
go.
good stories. I'm sure we could share another 30 minutes to an hour story. So I got to cut over, since this is Jonathan and I don't attend a lot of podcasts. I got to cut over to David that knows how to close these things out.
More or less. Well, thanks for joining us on another exciting episode of Scuttlebutt, the official podcast of the National Museum of the Surface Navy. We've been chatting with Jeff Lamberti, who was former chairman of the board and recent award winner of the Battleship Iowa Jeff Lamberti Service Award in the state of Iowa. And we hope that you've enjoyed this. If you have questions or comments, you want us to cover a topic, feel free to send an email to podcast@labattleship.com. That's podcast@labattleship.com. And that's that.
And if you were interested in contributing to the endowment campaign to keep this ship alive for the long term, feel free to visit pacificbattleship.com/donate or surfacenavymuseum.org/donate.
And you better follow Scuttlebutt, because in 10 years, we'll start sharing more stories that we shouldn't be sharing right now. Thank you, Jeff.
100%.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Jeff.